the Dome. And, of course, you can find them out in Manlius on 343 Fayette Street in their giant behemoth of a building that'll welcome you into Manlius. And you can find them at their newest location in their first ever drive-through on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road. You can find them out there in North Syracuse, so make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal today and fill your cup with whatever you like. I like the chai, and I like the pumpkin chai here for the fall because I'm a fall baby. Inside the Cafe Kubal studios, Wake Up Call for you is every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and on facebook.com/livenowdt, as well as facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're linking with the show, we thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate you. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, with these special broadcasts, and you know about them first if you're following us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Sometimes I say so many things, I forget what I said already. But Facebook.com at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. When you link with us on any one of those pieces of social media, you're the first ones to know when these live shows come about outside of our normal broadcast hours. And of course, you know who's coming up on the show all the time because you're linked with us. So welcome to the broadcast here of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we bring you our Clemson at Syracuse special. When I say we, myself, Dan Tortora, and who just joined our team here within the last few weeks, Mr. Isaac Alford. Isaac, welcome back to the show.
Always a pleasure, man. Always.
So we're happy to be here today and happy to be bringing you this broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we talk Clemson at Syracuse. When you see orange versus orange, what is your first thought of the Tigers coming in to visit Syracuse in the Dome?
It's going to be a good challenge, I think this is a Syracuse team that we've seen so far in the season that can compete with anybody in the Atlantic. And I know a lot of the media want to downcast Clemson now as being bad because they lost to a very good Georgia team. And, yes, they offensively they struggled, against the Georgia Tech, and NC State got them finally, But that happens, Alabama lost last week. So, I mean, sometimes the shine fall off the dynasty a little bit, But, I think Clemson's on offensive side, they're kind of young. I mean, that's, it's going to happen in recruiting cycles. Sooner or later, you're going to get that young freshman that got to come in and step up. And, they don't have to prove what – not everybody's Trevor Lawrence, So, but, I think it's going to be a good game, orange versus orange. So, somebody's going to go home happy in an orange jersey or orange whatever. But, I think Syracuse has an opportunity to continue to get better and build. I think you kind of seeing from last week's game, Schrader getting more comfortable with his quarterback scrambles.
Yeah.
This team is definitely heavy on the run. You're still using Sean and Garrett running the ball. So now they just got to go to that next step of finding some kind of passing schemes and stuff to play off of the run game, because the run game is the strongest part. We all know that. So now let's see them take the next step forward and see what they can bring to Clemson. Clemson coming off a bye week, they had a chance to rest up their players and get ready for this game. So we're going to see what they're going to bring tomorrow.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting, too, is that we're in a situation where Garrett Schrader had made the statement, and we were both in the post-game press conference against Wake. He made the statement in that 30-27 loss. He said, or was it 40-37? It's 30-37. 40-37, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because the score got high.
Right.
So, looking back on that game, he said after the game, I want to pass on every play. When you heard him say that, were you like me when I was like, "Brr," like, because I was like, pass on every play. You might run on every play, but you know what I mean? Because we're used to seeing him run. But
Right.
what did you think about hearing Garrett Trader say, I want to pass on every play?
Nah, I mean, I think Dino says that quarterbacks pass, receivers want to catch, and running backs want to run. But
Yeah.
no, I believe him, but I will take it to this. But he's smart enough to know if the play's not there,
Yeah.
I'm not going to just toss the ball out there just for the sakes of putting the ball out there. I'm gonna pull it down and use my feet and make a play. So, God bless him. If he want to pass, let him pass. Because I definitely want to see him pass the ball. And get other people involved in the offense. But when all else is fails, he'll use his legs. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and obviously we know he can run. What did you take away positive-wise from the loss in overtime to Wake Forest? What were the best pieces of where the team is currently at right now, speaking of Syracuse?
Actually, I was upset a little bit. It was kind of a positive, but I was still upset early in that first half when we was up, I believe, 28. I don't think it was 28, 21-10. And the defense was doing their job getting the offense back on the field. And I think it might have been maybe like 2 consecutive drives, but there was drives in that game we had a chance to put more points on the board.
Yeah.
And that was my thought process was as long as we keep Wake chasing us, because eventually they're going to get their stuff together. They went into halftime, they came out and scored. But if we could kept them chasing us, it still was a great game, don't get me wrong. I mean, the comeback was unbelievable. But I just thought the defense early in that game was getting Wake off the field when you normally see Wake go up and down executing their offense. You see games where Wake will score on 5 straight possessions to start a game.
Yeah.
And the game is pretty much over with. But that wasn't happening in the last game. The defense was getting them off. Maybe the quarterback wasn't in best rhythm in that game, but still you have to take advantage of those situations. And I felt we kind of let them stick in the game. And that not fourth down, but that third down decision to decline, or it would have been fourth down. And Dino says that hey, we didn't want to give the kicker a chance to kick the ball, but to me, that was the opportunity. Hey, let him prove himself. If he's a 50-yard goal, let him do that. I mean, I'd rather give up the 3 than the 7. And I know hindsight's 2020, and you can say whether a call is good or bad based on the results. I mean, it was 3rd and long, and I don't think we was thinking the defense was going to go to prevent Florida State mode on us and give up the 20 yards. But who's to say they wouldn't have went for it on 4th and 13 either? So you never know. But I felt that was a good decision point in that game where the defense was playing well. The offense was doing things that was keeping Wake Forest's defense off balance. Mainly the run, again, Schrader scrambling out of the pocket. But still, Sean was getting his yards. So I thought that was a good thing to start the game from my point of view.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think keeping Wake, making Wake not look like Wake, making Wake have to, seeing them punt the ball away and, come away with a field goal, not have a touchdown, for Syracuse to get after it and, be the first in the end zone. I think that was all good, but I don't know if you feel this way. I get this. I feel like Syracuse, outside of like Albany, I feel like Syracuse never keeps in recent history, they don't keep their foot on the neck of their opponent. Like they don't, when they got you down on the ground, they almost like help you back up to go another round. Instead of knocking you out in round 3, they let you go 5, 6, 7 rounds to the point where you start to get some momentum and they start to get a little bloody and a little wobbly. I don't know why Syracuse doesn't just keep hitting, so to speak.
Right. Well, I don't know if I think I've mentioned this to you. I always say this is the Dino's recipe, but if he goes into the 4th quarter with a 2-touchdown lead, it's kind of like what you just said. They're not going to throw in the more haymakers. They're just going to hold the ball, work the clock. But in doing that, you really got to maintain possession of the ball, because if you give it back to the other team now, it's breathing momentum and life into the other team. Okay, we stopped them, and now it's our chance to get back into the game. And that's exactly what you're saying is Syracuse quit, in the 4th quarter with a lead. They don't get it. They take the foot off the pedal and don't get as aggressive they was in the first 3 quarters, And I understand that And I'm not saying that Dino's the only one that does. I watch other teams do it too. It's probably something in the coaching mind. Okay, yeah, we got the lead and we just need to shorten the game. I got it.
Yeah.
But some teams you just can't do that with. You know, you just got to keep executing what's working.
Well, the thing is you keep your foot on the pedal, and if that means you win by 38, you win by 38.
Right.
Alabama does it all the time. Or if it means you win by 2, you win by 2.
Right.
But you keep your foot on the pedal. You don't win a NASCAR race by slowing down.
Right.
So, yes, you got to be smart on how you take the turns and where you position yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And just like in the sport of football, you have to have smart decision making and when am I going to go for it and when am I going to not and what am I going to do? But at the same time, you keep your foot on the gas. And we don't see Syracuse keep their foot on the gas enough. And that's why I think you see these frustrating games because you're in a situation where they had Florida State and they didn't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Wake Forest and they didn't finish it. But the difference between, well, I can't even say the difference between, there's been some coaching decisions that would have gotten Scott Schaefer fired. And, because what do people say about Schaefer? Bad time management. Didn't use his timeouts right.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't good with the clock. Wasn't a good game manager. And Dino, in the last 2 games against Florida State, he takes a timeout and then takes a timeout after the timeout, which makes you feel like, did he not get his point across? When you have to take a timeout after a timeout, it almost makes you feel like who didn't get it? What's not happening? Where did you if you take a timeout, you should know what to say and how to say it within that time period. If you take a double timeout, it makes you look stupid.
Right.
Whether or not it is, it makes you look that way.
Right.
Then the 2-point conversion that they were potentially going to go for, Dino says the personnel didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
So he doesn't put it on him. He says, basically, my players didn't know who was out there or what we were doing, whatever.
Right.
And he said that after the game. And so you have those calls. You have the call to decline the penalty and give them another 3rd down instead of forcing them into 4th down, and they end up scoring on that drive and getting a touchdown. And then you have on 4th and 2 from their 27, you decide to not go for it with Sean Tucker and with Garrett Schrader. So there's a lot of calls between the Florida State game and the Wake Forest game that have brought a lot of people to question what was on Dino's game plan.
Yeah, no, it definitely, when you look at those situations, like you say, staying aggressive, and it almost as, I kind of look back at that 2-point conversion, and I know there's a lot of discussion on, well, the team should have known to go for it. What camp was you in? Was you in the go for 2 and let's end it, or go for overtime? I can tell you, I was in the let's go for overtime. I was just happy they had opportunity to tie it, but and thinking about it, I don't think it was going to, even if Syracuse would have scored first in overtime, they wouldn't have lasted Wake Forest going back and tit for tat in overtime, I don't think.
I think Syracuse this is what I thought when I saw them come out onto the field and the offense was still there. Rob Drummond's 87 team had West Virginia in the Dome, and they went for 2 to win it in the end when they could have tied it. Right. The best way for me to describe exactly how I felt in that moment was, this is not Syracuse of the last 2 decades. Syracuse of the last 2 decades plays it safe.
Right.
The Syracuse that I know, balls to the wall, we're either beating them or we're not beating them, but we're going to try and beat them. The Rob Drummond Syracuse, that was the 80s, the 90s, that was go for it, and let's trust our team. The Dino Babers, Scott Schaefer, Doug Marone, Greg Robinson era, we're just happy to be here.
Right.
And so I was very surprised that they didn't take the easy way out initially. And I was stunned, and I almost felt like Dino brought him out there and then took the penalty so that he didn't have to do it.
Right.
It was almost like a ploy.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was real.
No, you didn't think so?
I don't believe that Dino trusts the team enough to go for 2.
Yeah. Here's what I think. It was 2 things.
Is that mean to say?
No, not really. I can kind of.
I don't think he trusts him enough.
Well,
he doesn't trust him on 4th and 8 against Rutgers. He doesn't trust him on 4th and 2.
Exactly.
So am I wrong if he hasn't trusted them in other situations?
Right. No, I agree exactly what you're saying. I was going to say also 2 things I was thinking about. the manner in which they scored too, it was like a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Sean.
Yeah.
So I don't even think they were mentally prepared for that play to happen for them to score. You know what I'm saying? But I thought it was kind of like you said, let's go for it. And thinking about it, you probably had weight rattled a little bit too at that moment. Like, okay, it's time to go.
And I think he was maybe trying to see what they would give him.
Right.
But I almost feel like it's almost like in a game where you take the delay of game penalty on purpose, like where you look like you're going to go for it on 4th and 1. You take the delay of game, and then your punter comes out.
Right.
Because you want to almost see if you can get them off sides. But Dino didn't do that.
And not even the offside thing. I think he might have trying to see if he can get Wake Forest to call a timeout. Because if you think about it, now you got their defense scrambling.
Right.
I leave my offense out there maybe, but Clawson's smart. He didn't panic.
Yeah.
He didn't say, "Oh, they going for 2. We need it." Because some people, how many times have we seen Syracuse do this? Some team do that, and here's Dino running down the sideline and say, "Okay, we got to get a timeout. We got to adjust our defense to get us."
Yeah.
I think he might have been trying to play a little chess.
Yeah, I feel like hold on, let me bring this out. Let me bring this my chess piece out. So I almost feel like Dino was like, all right, we're going for 2. So he like moved. I'll move the mic here.
Right.
So he's like, all right, we're going for 2, and Clausen was like, try me, bro. Like I feel like he was like, checkmate.
Exactly.
Like I honestly picture, and I should have looked at him when he did it, but I picture Clausen going, man, this boy full of, you know what?
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
That's
like,
how I
he's
think
like,
about it.
man, this guy went for 2 when?
Yeah.
In 6 years, when does he go for 2?
And
you know what I mean? Like, maybe early in the game, I think they had gone for 1 at one point.
Right,
but
right.
I never, ever, in recent history, have seen Syracuse put the game on the line at the end of the game and gone for 2.
Right.
In a very long time.
Right,
It's
right.
not a 21st century Syracuse move to make,
Right.
which sucks. It's a balls move.
Right.
Nick Saban will do that.
Right.
Jimbo Fisher will do that.
I think
Dabo Sweeney will do that. Right? Maybe Jim Harbaugh will do that.
Right.
Maybe Brian Kelly would do that. But
Dino, I think he was trying to bluff. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I think he was trying to sneak a free time out and say, "Okay, let's get something together."
I almost see like Clausen's like Dino moves his rook, and Clausen was like, Psh, man, get out of here, checkmate, bro. That's what I thought.
It was. Then I thought about it. Well, maybe he was trying to coach them to take a free one, but yeah, exactly. He did. Once he took the penalty, like you say, it was like, oh, okay, I'm off the hook now. Yeah, I showed my hand, and okay.
I mean, like, I'm realizing now that Drake, I mean, he was calling out Soulja Boy.
Right.
When, he's like, that day you were sounding like a you fancy, huh? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like that's what Clausen was doing. I feel like if you zoom in and go back to the game, Clausen's there when he goes for 2, and he's unscathed, and Dino's like, what's he gonna do? And Clausen's like, oh, you fancy, huh? Oh, you fancy, huh? You know what I mean? I feel like Clausen's like, man, he's just sitting there. He's like, he got his timeouts, he's got all this stuff, and he's like,
exactly.
and Dino's like, why isn't this man moving? He's like, go,
Yeah.
do it. And Dino's like, delay a game. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But like, I honestly don't think they were actually going to go for it.
Right.
I don't care what anybody says. That's my gut feeling.
At first, I didn't want them. I was like, man, you put all this energy to get in a position too tight.
But you play to win.
But exactly.
But they don't anymore.
Right. I think it was, if they had the guts, I think it would have been the perfect time to do that. Because
any good team that trusts their players. How many times has he said this season when he's made a decision that people have contested in the media? What does he say? Mm-hmm. Well, I trusted my defense.
Right.
When has he ever told you he trusted his offense?
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And sometimes too much trust in the defense is a tired defense.
Well, the thing is, your defense typically does not score.
Right.
So when you say I trust my defense, you're not putting points on the board.
No, you're just hoping to get the ball back.
Right,
Yeah.
but if you trust your offense, you're trying to score. You trust your defense. How many times, percentage-wise, are you getting a pick six?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you know.
I mean, the one time it did work was the fumble for Liberty. That's the only time. But yeah, exactly.
But it's just a reality that for me, Dino, Scott, Doug, Greg, they weren't the let's win the game in regulation because like you didn't see that confidence. Right? You didn't see that confidence. And Clausen's like unflustered, right? Syracuse kicks a field goal and then what 3 plays in, he throws a fade. You know, he's like, go beat my man.
Right.
Beat him. You know what I mean? Like, Clausen is so, and I've said this, and I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said it again, and I'll say it again. Dave Clausen was given the time to build a program.
Right.
Scott was never given the time. Dave Doran was given the time at NC State. They all came in at almost the same time, and I'm not trying to say that just because they came in the same time they're the same coaches. What I'm saying is, Doran, look at what he's done. Look at what Clausen's done. Schaefer was building. 3 years is 3 years is nothing.
Right.
And the thing is, Schaefer got fired for time management, game management, clock management, all that stuff. Allegedly, that's what was an issue.
Right.
But Dino has all those issues, and he's had double the time. Scott had 3 years. Dino's had this is 6.
Maybe if Scott had a different AD, maybe he would have got it 6. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this guy now is giving Dino the benefit of the doubt, but like you say, it's the same issue.
And I'm not saying fire Dino. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I know that the fan base is saying it like crazy.
There's somebody out there doing it.
You know, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I want fair to be fair.
Right.
And if you're gonna rip apart Schaefer, then for the same things, I mean, honestly, if you look at these last 2 games and you look at the separation, they lost by 6 points cumulatively in these last 2 games.
I believe so, yeah.
So you look at these, you lose 33-30 and 40-37
Right.
all the time. But I honestly don't think that you can blame the players for these 2 losses. I think that these are on Dino more than they're on the players.
Or the coaching staff as a whole.
Yeah, the coaching staff. I would say the coaching staff has to take the brunt of these more.
Right.
I mean, it's just because it just looks like poor execution, poor decision making. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I really don't put this on the players.
What I didn't like about it defensively, I mean, though, like I said, they played well, but what was going on in the backfield, man? I mean, the only time that we did get the interceptions was the only time I don't know if I mentioned it, that we had the safeties back. And I think Cooley got his hand on it, and then Simmons picked it off. But the other time, it was like almost, and I know we got the greatest confidence in the world with Williams and Deuce on the corner, but come on, man. All they was doing was running post up the middle, and it's like, you got to put a safety back there to help those guys out. You know, it's just like, come on. And the one time we did, we got a pick out of it. And it's just like, you know.
Well, that was the thing, too, is you and I joked about the fact that and you had mentioned it, that they were playing the Florida State non-prevent defense.
Right.
You know, and I mean, when you got a ball in the first half and it comes flying downfield and AT Perry's there, and he's literally, you see Wake drop back, throw, and you see AT turn. The ball's still in the air.
Oh, yeah.
He's waiting for it, and 3 guys around him on Syracuse are waiting, looking with him like he's looking at a rainbow, and he just jumps up and catches it with no contest. And this isn't like the ball came in and they made an incredible throw. The ball was hanging in the air, and nobody stops him, and that's 46 yards. And then you see the next one, 69. You know what I mean? And it's just, to me, it was watching Syracuse just not contest the ball defensively, which really was frustrating.
Right. Yeah. I mean, certain plays they're aggressive, and then those plays you just mentioned is just almost, it was just passive. What's they more like into the game watching than actually playing the play out, you know. But yeah, I mean, they did. It was good effort, but it's those little moments, like you say, with the coaching staff. You got to make sure everybody's on the same page. And I think I told you this too during the game. It's like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, why Wake does that hold mesh? And, I mean, that's play action to me all day long. I don't care what you call it, however you hold it in its stomach or whatever. But the 2 things I was saying, well, if I'm a DB, don't get your eyes in the backfield. If a receiver comes out running routes, play the route. Don't play your eyes at the quarterback. Because once you start watching, the guy's behind you. So, you know, I mean, that's just, again, eye candy. You know, that's what Wake was doing on those plays. It's play action. So, but now you just stay away from those and play your assignment. But, you know, they're getting there, but it's just, you know, those moments you just can't give up those big plays and stuff like that.
No. And to take I put up here for the fans a game thread, and I asked you to give me your opinions and your thoughts. Guy said, without a doubt, the O-line has been playing very well. Brian M. said, good play calling so far. This is early in the game. And put 3 hearts for Syracuse, Orange Hearts. Todd said, amazing how easy it is to compete when you cut the cord from DeVito. Dude is just awful, go Cuse. Greg said, we're without a doubt a much more of a dynamic offense with Schrader behind center. And Todd said, wasted 3 seasons, so on TD, finally cut the cord. Michael S. said, definitely have to address the punting issue. And Greg said, it's certainly an issue. Riff Raff said, where's our punter? This guy's terrible. Mike D said, punter is still a scholarship position, right? Asking for a friend. Joseph F. said, the coach needs to go 4 down and a 50-yard or more field goal, and he takes the 10 yards and 3rd down. What a disgrace, which we talked about.
Right.
Don C. said, Dino needs to be brought to the woodshed and educated. Coach sucks, fire Dino. And then he said, Dino's a terrible coach. And then we had Jamie S. said, once again, poor coaching. Irene Farmer said, awesome. I guess that's when things got closer. Graylin P. said, 0 respect for Cuse's defense. It's akin to a wet paper towel. And then Dan said, watching on TV, felt the offense had momentum to do it. As far as, because I said, why wouldn't you go for, thoughts on not going for it on 4th and 2.
Right.
And then Michael S. said, I know there's a call for Sean Tucker to get 44, which would be an honor, but maybe he could turn 34 into the new 44. Jamie said, fire the whole coaching staff. I feel bad for the players. Disgusting. I literally can't take watching it. The guys play their hearts out and try to overcome the coaching mistakes. Disgusting. And then Dan S. said, if we end up with losing season and the schedule only gets harder from here, Tucker will enter the portal, is what Dan said. And then
he entered the portal with the many carries you getting now.
I know.
Why would you leave now? I mean,
well, and then Dan S. said, the guys better play angry versus Clemson. Players are better than the coaching staff. Terry said, no, we still need a quarterback and more offensive linemen. And then we had more comments come in here. The O-line situation is definitely fragile. I like our quarterback, but we need more creativity and players involved. Mm-hmm. I think hope his passing will improve, speaking of Garrett Schrader. I don't like seeing him run so much, nor Tucker for that matter. Not sure what is going on with Adams and Lutz. 2 fumbles this year on maybe 15 carries. Our quarterback is the best we got, cannot throw. George S. said, great effort by issue players, terrible time management by coaches at the end. Mark said, gee, angry? Really? They should have been angry after the Rutgers game and definitely angry after the Florida State game. This team has some talent, but no heart due to very poor coaching. Some of the poor coaching decisions yesterday were no-brainers, like not accepting the penalty and forcing a 52-yard field goal. A 5th grader could have figured out the right thing to do. Babers needs to go. He's a disgrace to the Syracuse community and the prestige of the university nationwide. Jim said a 52-yard field goal in game conditions isn't exactly a chip shot, even for a top-rated kicker. Instead, you give a possible future NFL quarterback a second shot of a 3rd down conversion. Terrible decision. So I would venture to say that from when I asked the fans what their thoughts were about the game, the overwhelming majority, the synopsis of everything I just read, was the majority of the words were anti-Dino and the coaching staff.
Right, yeah, definitely. I mean, you see it. I mean, everybody feels the same way. I mean, you know, when you make those decisions, like, I mean, it's head-scratching sometimes when you're sitting there and you're watching it. It's like, you know, your defense did the job. Let them get off the field. Why you want to give a guy an extra possession? My fear on that play was a penalty, like pass interference, or my last thought was maybe they're going to convert 3rd and 20. If you're going to even do that, how about bring pressure? Why would you go to prevent? You know.
Well, that's the thing. 3rd and 23.
Yeah.
You know, Syracuse has been notorious over the last couple decades of seeing a 3rd and long and not only giving it up, but giving up more yards. Like, 3rd and 23, and they give up 25 yards.
Right.
You're thinking, because in your head, 3rd and 23 is insurmountable for a lot of teams, right? But if you play Syracuse and you throw the ball over the middle or on 3rd and long, there's a chance you're going to... It's ironic that a 4th and 20 play by Donovan McNabb kept Philadelphia alive in the NFL when Donovan played at Syracuse, who gives up 4th and 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if it's 3rd and 56, I would feel great about playing Syracuse. You know what I mean? And I respect the defense, but it's just, for whatever reason, 3rd and longs, especially over the middle and to the tight end or to some slot receiver or whatever. I mean, Isaac can tell you, when there's a 3rd down and Syracuse needs a stop in a big way at that time in the game, I will do this to Isaac in the game.
Over the middle.
And I don't say a word. I don't even have to say it. Or I'll just go, where was that? Where was it?
Yeah.
Where'd they pass it just now? I mean, 3rd and 23 should be damn near impossible in any level of football. And against Syracuse, you get 25.
Yeah, I mean, we put pressure on them. Make them put the ball out of their hands quicker than they want to, because all this reading the field and Hail Mary or whatever they're doing, it's not working. And
but seeing Sam Hartman drop back and throw these passes, he's throwing not darts, he's throwing long arcing passes, and these guys are waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's the craziness to me, because Syracuse's defense is better than that, and I respect you guys, and I want you to know that, and you do know that, I would hope. When a receiver has time to turn, look, and wait, the 3 guys shouldn't be around him. It's almost like you're watching someone get a gift,
right,
and everybody's at your birthday party going, what's he going to open? No, these people are supposed to slap that gift out your hand and say, it's not yours. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this is, to me, there was more than one play in this game where a receiver had time to look up, go to one of the new kiosks, get that Q's Chicken Express, pay, come through, go back because they forgot their fries, and then eat, put the barbecue sauce down, and catch the football.
Yeah. Gotta work.
When I can look up, when I have time to look up at the ball and watch it in the air, and I see the receiver waiting, and I'm waiting, and then he's waiting, and I'm waiting, if you're a DB, you should be there.
Yeah, exactly. You should be all over that ball.
And they were there. But it amazes me when a guy turns to catch the ball against Syracuse, why they stand behind him and they almost hug him.
Yeah.
How are you going to stop him from behind? I mean, I guess they're hoping that when the ball comes in, they can slap it.
Maybe, but they're
get in front of it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there definitely was some miscues that they should have did better job on, and definitely would have had a bigger impact on the game, because I mean, a lot of those instances you talk about kept drives alive.
Yeah.
And
the only time I want to see your hands on the hips of somebody is on the dance floor, not in a football game. I want to see it on a slow jam, but I don't want to be like zooming in and hearing Jihad Carter going, "It feels like the first time." You know what I mean? Like I don't even. And Jihad, I'm kidding, and I'm coming up with a name here, but this Syracuse defense has only gotten better.
Yeah.
That to give up those plays was, they know that they can't.
Right.
And the thing is, Clemson may be 3-2, but DJ Uiagalelei, Dabo Swinney, they're going to test you down the field. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to promise you something about Clemson. Their 5th stringers are still better than most starters around the country. And as much as they're 3-2, I'm going to be clear with you. Dabo, watching that weight game, he's going to test you down the field. Mm-hmm. He's going to throw it. And I'm telling you right now that Syracuse, he's going to beat him on a couple because Dabo is not going to shy from it. And if it doesn't work, he'll test you again. Like, I honestly, he'll test you if you intercept him twice. He'll go and test you in certain places. So I think DJ's going to throw it down the field. And what I'm concerned most about Syracuse is giving Clemson a highlight reel in a season where they haven't looked that good.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, we've seen that too many times with teams come in and you're not expecting that. But I definitely agree with that, because what I've seen with DJ so far with the teams they played, he's got a cannon, but he's not as accurate. Sometimes his ball's in the ground, he's overthrowing people. So knowing that, like you say, watching the weight tape, DBs and safeties, those guys got to be prepared. I don't know if you're a 2-deep shell, whatever you want, but they definitely got to be prepared for it, because I don't even think Clemson's offensive line is what it used to be. I think they got their own issues with their own offensive line, and the transfer portal is just as worse for Clemson with running backs as everybody else in the country. So, I can see DJ throwing it, or he's going to be doing the Garrett Schrader show. If he's not throwing it, that big dude going to be running the ball around the field too. Just as I've watched the last few games, they called design quarterback draw plays for the guys. So, you got the DBs and the safeties going to have to be ready for it, because I will guarantee there's going to be some deep shots, as you said, in this game.
Well, remember that Clemson's former quarterback is allegedly going to be the top pick in the 2022 draft that's at Liberty now. You know, so I mean, you talk about transferring.
Right.
I mean, Clemson lost. You had not only that, or I'm sorry, was it not at not at Liberty? I'm sorry, that was Auburn at Liberty. I'm thinking of a different game. So I'm thinking about Jacksonville State has Clemson's former quarterback.
Okay, gotcha.
Jacksonville State has him. So my fault here, folks. But no, Auburn quarterback coming there. But yeah, I mean, you talk about transferring and whatnot. You got a I mean, you look at Florida State, and we talk about that prevent defense that Syracuse did against Wake. Florida State plays that non-prevent. Nobody in the back line. Nobody's chasing him down. He catches the ball, pushes you off, stops, and then runs into the end zone. But that's coming from a Clemson quarterback to a Duke wide receiver.
Right.
Remember that. So, you know what I mean? You talk about transferring and stuff like that. I mean, look at what these guys have done. And, you know, so, I mean, you know, obviously there's talent all over the field, and there's guys that are leaving and making their hay. One thing I want to look at with Syracuse here is that Syracuse got an interception from Jason Simmons Jr., and it was his first ever career interception. He played at New Mexico State beforehand, never had one. In this game, he goes down, him and Eric Coley touch the ball gets bobbled by both of them, it goes up in the air, and it's like, who's going to catch it? And it'll be cool that you'll hear on the TGIF show this week that Jason Simmons talks to me about it, and he goes, that actually should have been Eric Coley's.
Yeah.
But, you know, he got it, he came down with it, he was excited about it. But, you know, that interception, I do want to look at, you know, the fact that they got that, and they did. Syracuse did not throw an interception, but Syracuse also did not force any fumbles, and we know that helped them in games prior to.
Right.
And they did not force Sam Hartman to fumble. Sam had a bunch of time to move around the pocket, and that was a frustrating piece of this thing too. Syracuse only sacked Sam Hartman twice in this matchup, and the majority of the time he had more than enough time to survey the field.
Really? It was only twice? I thought they got to him a few times, but maybe. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they definitely put the pressure on him.
I think the thing is they put the pressure on him, but he was able to still get the ball out.
And maybe I'm thinking that one other time they sacked him too was one of that penalty they called for holding.
Yeah.
It was a good sack play, but
I think what I'm trying to say is Sam Hartman had the ability to get the ball down the field.
Oh, yeah.
And he exposed Syracuse. And my concern with Sam Hartman, he's only a sophomore. And, you know, if Sam Hartman can pick apart certain things, then, you know, and this is no disrespect to Dave Clawson and Wake Forest, but if Sam Hartman is doing that to Syracuse, then I think, you know, just like in other times with Travis Etienne and whatnot, I'm concerned that DJ Uiagalelei, this could be the Clemson turns the corner and doesn't lose any more games this year.
Yeah.
Could be the Syracuse game where DJ throws for 400 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns and runs a touchdown in. I'm just very concerned that this game's either going to be a tight game that Syracuse finds that they can get this victory and they're able to squeeze one out against Clemson, or Clemson's going to make it a highlight reel. I either think Syracuse is going to play them close and play them tough, and they're going to grit out a win, or it's going to be very much a lopsided Clemson game.
Well, I mean, that's what I worry about because they're coming off a bye. I think had Clemson played last week, maybe, not saying whatever their result was, but them having that extra week to get their bodies right, you know, watch film and kind of go back to the drawing board and reassess themselves. I mean, it definitely could be one of those games where our offense come out clicking like we haven't seen in the previous few games. I mean, and, you know, Syracuse, a short week, you know, if you want to call a short week one day. But, you know, we just got to play our game and, you know, don't try to give up the big plays. If they're gonna score, I'm just make them earn it, you know, because the other part we haven't really touched on yet is the Clemson defense.
Yeah.
I mean, we see what they did with Georgia. Georgia did only score on a pick 6. So that just tell you how good that Clemson defense is. And we're really going to see what our run game is made of now. If that's our bread and butter. So will Sean Tucker and Garrett Schrader get those yards, or will Clemson get so aggressive they're going to force you to play your hand? Okay, let's see you throw it over the top of us, or whatever you're going to do. So, I mean, I definitely see this could be the game where you let their offense shine and get their momentum and try to work their way back into the conversation, or are we going to, kick them while they're down, so to speak,
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting thing, speaking of Sean Tucker, to state that this was the first time that Sean Tucker had at least one rushing touchdown and at least 100 yards on the ground where they lost the season.
Right.
It's the second time that he had 100 yards on the ground and they lost, but he did not score a touchdown against Florida State, but had 100 yards. So we're looking at the fact that in all the games in the 6 games that Syracuse has played this season, in 5 of 6 games, Sean Tucker's had at least 100 yards rushing, and in 5 of 6 games, he's scored at least one rushing touchdown. He did not score a touchdown against Florida State, but had 102 yards and they lost. So it was the first time that he had over 100 yards, but he did not score. The loss against Wake is the first time he had over 100 and a rushing touchdown and they lost. So, Sean Tucker, by the numbers, 25 for 181, 7.2 yards a carry at Ohio, rushing touchdown. 13 for 132, 10.2 yards a carry against Albany with 4 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown in a win. Against Liberty, 32 carries, 169 yards, 5.3 yards a carry, a rushing touchdown. Against Wake Forest in overtime, 26 carries, 153, 5.9 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. Against Florida State, 24 carries, 102 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. I mean, Sean Tucker is by far the best part of their offense and arguably the best player on the team.
Yeah, I mean, the kid's special, man. The numbers speaks for themselves. I mean, he's, I don't want to say compare him, but he's almost like the Saquon Barkley of this offense. When, Barkley was at Penn State, or when he's in a Giants uniform. But he definitely, he has what it takes. I mean, now I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. I mean, technically he's still a freshman, right?
Yeah, he's
due to the COVID
second-year
rules.
true freshman.
Right. So I think he would finish like 600 yards or so, 690 something last year.
Yeah.
And now he's 7. So
791
technically he got
right now.
1,300 or more yards as a freshman.
Yeah.
Going by those numbers. I mean.
Well, I think what's crazy about this too is if he continues his pace of pretty much 100 yards a game outside of the Rutgers game, he scored a rushing touchdown against Rutgers. So 5 of 6 games, like I said, at least one rushing touchdown. 5 of 6 games, he's had at least 100 yards on the ground. So I think if he's going at this pace, he will be the first 1,000-yard back since Jerome Smith did it in 2012, almost a decade ago. He'll be the first 1,000-yard back for Syracuse, and he's going to get it when they have 3 games to play.
Right.
The way he's going right now, by the 8th or 9th game this season, he'll have 1,000 rushing yards.
Easy. Yeah. I mean, he's knocking on the door right now.
Yeah, 791 right now.
Yeah.
5.9 yards a carry on average, 791 yards. Already has 133 attempts this season, which some running backs get an entire year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some guys in the NFL only have 133 the whole year
in
16 games. And he has 12 receptions for 204 yards, 17 yards per catch on average, and 2 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns on the season. Cumulatively, all-purpose yards-wise, he has 995. So he's going to have 1,000 yards all-purpose within, arguably, God willing, the first carry of the game.
Yes, exactly. That's, special. Those special type numbers right there,
And averaging almost 6 yards a carry. And he's already got double-digit touchdowns, but his first touchdown, his next touchdown, I should say, is going to give him double-digit touchdowns rushing. So he'll have double-digit rushing, double-digit overall, 1,000 yards cumulatively, almost 6 yards a carry. Plus you add in the fact that, he's knocking on the door of being 1,000-yard back. I think at this point, you do have to start talking Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start talking Player of the Year for the ACC. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things you have to start saying right now. He's putting himself in a place that I think Ernie, Floyd, Jim should all be happy with.
Oh yeah, I think I see the discussions already, like our preseason, not preseason, but mid-season, first team ACC in a running back position. I need to go dust off my Syracuse media guide and see where he ranks as far as freshman numbers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you just said Jim Brown. I don't even know if Jim Brown had those. I don't think he had that many yards as a freshman. I was looking at the numbers. I mean, of course they didn't play as many games, but I don't think he had maybe like 700 or 800 yards as a freshman. I believe. I could be wrong, but it was a stat I looked at. And I was like, really? That's it? And I was like, okay. But he's definitely putting up the numbers, man. I mean, he's going to be a good one. I mean, knock on wood. Make the young man stay healthy and stay in the training room and keep his body right. Because I definitely want to see him push the record books and do what he got to do to be in the conversation of, like you say, the Heisman and Player of the Year type awards.
Yeah, and I think he's in a place right now where he needs to be in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He is an asset to this team, and he's incredible, with what he's been able to do and how he's been able to, just put himself in a great situation. So, we look at 1,000-yard rushers for Syracuse, and, I think this is cumulative.
Right.
Yeah, it's career.
Correct.
So, I think it's been, obviously, Jerome Smith. Prince Tyson Gully did it all-purpose in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Jerome did it rushing. So you had two running backs that had 1,000 yards in that season, which was almost a decade ago. So I think, it's important to look at the fact that Syracuse is in a very unique place right now where we could see an amazing, amazing, amazing moment in the history of Syracuse football. And you would just hope that, this team can win, at least get to a bowl game, because 4 years ago, almost to the date, when they played Clemson, I said, it doesn't mean anything if you beat the number 2 ranked team in the nation and they're the reigning national champion. If you don't go to a bowl game, then it's in every squirrel gets a nut. And they went 4-8 that year, and it was forgettable. It was like it was the equivalent of, you could have said Clemson lost to Appalachian State, to Akron, to Citadel. You know what I mean? Like it's just the reality that Syracuse looked like a nobody that year because it was such a big win, but at the same time, it was on a season where it was funny. I think, I got the question after they won was, well, what do they need to do now? I said they got to win 2 games of like their next 5 or 6 or whatever. And they're like, oh, that seems easy. And I said, no, in Syracuse, they could lose them all.
Yeah.
And they lost every single game, I think, after that.
I think I can think of 2 seasons like that. I'm not under this current coaching staff, but goes to show how hard winning games are. I think there was a season when Chandler Jones was here, and they were like 5-2, and I was like, oh man, we're on the cusp.
Yeah.
We just need one more game.
Yeah.
And it just, winning's not easy, but you can see it just right there in front of you, and you know what it means to get to that 6th game and get to the bowl and have the opportunity to continue on with the season. But yeah, like you said, I've seen 5-2 or 4-1 or whatever the case may be, and then just like you go on that losing streak, and you're like, I can't believe we just lost 4 or 5 straight games to end the season and not even get a chance to go to the bowl. So yeah. I remember thinking about going to bowl the year Cisco. I think he was the freshman when they went to 10-3.
Yeah.
And they had a little highlight clip of him. He like, I'm going to a bowl every year. And I was thinking to myself, that would be nice if you could make it happen,
Yeah.
But that's football, because to a Syracuse program, the main reason why we haven't been consistently going to bowls, what happens to the teams recently if we lose a quarterback.
Yeah.
Due to, they got a lot of skill and ability to run around, and I think that's why a lot of people don't want Schrader running around like that, because you know how important that guy is to the team and how important the Dungy was to the team. So when they went down, it's like all the air was let out of the balloon, and it was just like, oh man.
It's also the big-headedness too.
Yeah.
It's like, I think, the players have talked about the last couple of years. They've been more open the last couple of years about the fact that, they were like, some of the guys on the team were kind of feeling themselves after the 10-3 season.
Yeah.
Like, we can't lose to anybody, and you forget where you came from. I mean, I think Jacksonville, after they lost the AFC Championship game to the Patriots, and I was at that game, covering that game, and in the locker room after, the next season, they played the Patriots in week 2 and beat them, and forgot that there was the rest of the season. It was like, oh, well, we avenged our loss.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, well, that one would have got you to the Super Bowl. This one was in week 2.
Right.
And then you decided to really just do nothing for the rest of the year. I do have the numbers here, interesting to share with you. Joe Morris, all time, has the most yards at Syracuse, 4,299. Walter Reyes, may he rest in peace, 3,424. DeLon Carter, 3,104. Larry Zonka, 2,934. James Mungro, 2,869. Floyd Little, 2,704. David Walker, 2,643. D. Brown, 2,626. Mo Neal, 2,560, and would have been more if they ran him right the first 2 years. And Bill Hurley, 2,551. The single season leader, Joe Morris, 1,372. And that could be broken by Sean Tucker.
Yeah, he's within range.
Walter Reyes, 1,347. DeLon Carter, 1,233. Joe Morris, 1,194. Jerome Smith, 1,171. Mungro, 1,170. Curtis Brinkley, 1,164. Walter Reyes again, 1,135. Larry Zonka, 1,127. And may he rest in peace, Floyd Little, 1,065. And then in a single game, Joe Morris, 252. Reyes, 241. D. Brown, 239. Reyes again, 237. Damian Rhodes, 236. Zonka, 216 with Floyd Little. Prince Tyson Gully, 213. Larry Zonka, 204. Joe Morris, 203. And when we go back and look at these games, we have seen Sean Tucker get very close to 200 against Ohio, 181, and against Liberty, 169, and against Wake, 153. So he's eyeing that, and if he gets just a little bit into 200, a couple in there, 204, 203, he's going to pass or tie Joe Morris and Larry Zonka. And like I said, he's not far away from catching Floyd Little this year, at least to be in the single-season top 10 in rushing yards at Syracuse.
Exactly. And speaking of Floyd, this weekend is dedicated. This next game is dedicated to Floyd. So, that's another reason for the fans to come out and support,
And wouldn't it be amazing if he did something that puts him right there, close to Floyd or on the line with Floyd? What if he rushes for 217 yards or 216, and then you got that with Floyd Little. So there's a lot to be said about what Sean Tucker can be. But I think in career rushing yards, single season rushing yards, and single game rushing yards, he is right there. Also, mind you, in a single game rushing touchdowns, he's in a great place too with that, and he is right there. Sean Tucker with 4 now in one game that he had rushing touchdown wise, right there with Jim Brown. And as a career, he can fight with that. And in a single season rushing touchdowns, he has 9 right now. All he has to do is get to 12 to tie Ernie Davis, Floyd Little, Bill Hurley, and Jerome Smith.
Yeah. He's pushing up on the numbers. I mean, I think, like you said, that's rushing stats. And like you said, he had 4, but in that Albany game, he had 5 total. That was 1 was pass. But, he's well on his way to making those marks, And that's funny because I was looking at the rushing. I know it's a different era, but, Jim Brown name wasn't mentioned on those other stats in the rushing yards. But he got, like, touchdowns. He's on the stats still. So, but that tells you something about how different, you say Jerome Smith was the last 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
And almost a decade ago now we're going back to that. Syracuse got a lot of well-known names of running backs that come through this program. Yeah. And now you see Sean has put his name on that list and hopefully continue to put his name on that list. But yeah, sometimes you got to stick with what works. That's the recipe. Then let's keep doing it, and hopefully the success will follow that.
Yeah, and important to note, Sean Tucker, like so many Syracuse success stories, not a 5-star.
Oh yeah.
something to note here from Owings, Maryland. By the way, folks, you can get tickets to this game and you can sit on the sideline for $40, $30, $36, $41, $56. It's insane. 33. You could be in an end zone for $33. It costs $20 to sit on the top, $33 to sit closer. To get a sideline ticket to the Syracuse game, sit behind their bench, and be in section 130, you can pay $41. So, I would like to think there's no excuses to get there and find your way to the game. And how many games can you sit at the 30-yard line behind the Syracuse bench for 40? I mean, how many times can you go to a college football game and sit at the 40-yard line, 30-yard line behind the home team for $30 or $40?
And literally behind them. It's not like these gigantic stadiums where you got a track or whatever it may be there's no bad seat inside the place. That's what I love about it. The stands are literally built on top of the field. And and the crowd, the crowds they've been getting, and so far, student section, everything's been fantastic.
Yeah. This
year, and the noise that we do produce from the crowds that we're getting. But if you can imagine, packing the place to the top, man, the roof will probably blow off.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it would be insane. It would be very reminiscent of my time growing up with my dad, especially those Pittsburgh games. Looking at Clemson's record 3-2, lost to Georgia 10-3 in a defensive laden game, and South Carolina State defeated 49-3, and that was at home against Georgia Tech, 14-8 in a very ugly game against Georgia Tech. And then at NC State, where I said NC State was close for back-to-back years in recent history under Dave Doran and didn't finish it, and I said those Clemson teams were better, in my opinion, for him to take it to this one, 27-21, and not in overtime. And then against Boston College, 19-13. Clemson's wins outside of South Carolina State were very close. Nothing convincing. BC 19-13 after they scored an early touchdown. Georgia Tech 14-8, like I said. The loss to NC State, the loss to Georgia. Nothing about Clemson looks pretty right now. And I thought DJ Uiagalelei would struggle in 2 to 3 games this season. I didn't think that they would lose 3. I thought that he would struggle in like 2 or 3. They would lose one of the 3. But by the numbers right now, DJ Uiagalelei, 76 completions on 140 attempts, 54.3% completion percentage, 793 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 3 total touchdowns passing in 5 games, and has as many interceptions as that. Kobe Pace on the ground, 218 yards, which is more than 500 yards less than Syracuse's leading rusher, Sean Tucker. 38 attempts to Sean Tucker having over 130 already, 133, I believe I said. But 5.7 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. Will Shipley, 44 carries, 211, 4.8 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns. And DJ's got 2 touchdowns on the ground on quarterback keepers. Joseph Ngata has no touchdowns with 333 yards to lead the team. Justin Ross, 231 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. And those are the only, Justin Ross is the only person who has gotten a touchdown pass thrown to him this season, besides Lynn J. Dixon, the running back, who has 1. So the wide receiver who's been in the end zone is Justin Ross. So I'd venture to say that Syracuse is going to have to key in on him, and understand that Ross is doing that. And then Kobe Pace and Will Shipley are both sharing it right now. But none of the numbers look great at all for Clemson through 5 games.
No, and DJ looked like he's the leading rusher through 5 games in rushing attempts. So again, like I said, be prepared for him to kind of, if the passes are not there, he's going to run it. But those are some design runs too, like you said.
Yeah.
And the stats show, so far he's a freshman. I know he came in a couple COVID games last year, but he's still got to get the game experience. He's young, he got the potential, but looking at the stats right now, he's struggling. And sacks, the offensive line is very young. and giving up sacks. So that definitely tells you how their offense has been struggling so far this year. I mean, they played some good defense, early in the season, but I think the last 3 games we were just looking at, NC State, Boston College, and even Georgia Tech came almost down to the last possession of the game.
Yeah.
So in the kind of mirror image of Syracuse last 3 games, it came down to the last few plays of a game to determine. I mean, Boston College fumbled a snap. They had the opportunity to give Clemson their back-to-back loss.
Well, I think seeing these close wins or close losses, I mean, think about it. Clemson scored only 21 against NC State.
Mm-hmm.
They scored 14 against Georgia Tech. They scored 3 against Georgia in that loss. And they scored 19 against Boston College. Mm-hmm. So this offense this is the perfect offense to play Syracuse because Syracuse's offense is now scoring the ball.
Right.
And, the defensive side has, for the most part, played pretty strong and pretty tough most of these games outside of some of the things they gave up against Wake. So I think, this is a perfect team for Syracuse's defense and offense to play because a Clemson team in the past could go to the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and keep playing you, where it seems like, this Clemson team has tried to live in the world of can we score 20 and get out of here.
Right. Because defensively, that's how tough they are.
Yeah.
Defensively, I mean...
This is almost like a Syracuse team of old offensively where you're trying to win scoring 14 to 20 points a game.
I was going to say, this almost look like 2 teams coming in and looking at themselves right now. They both... The strength is kind of defense, but Syracuse is putting it together a little bit more on offense so far in the last few games than what Clemson's put on.
Syracuse's offense definitely feels more exciting to watch than Clemson's right now.
Right.
And we look at sack-wise, Xavier Thomas, Miles Murphy, Brian Breesy, Nolan Turner, Levante Bentley, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Trenton Simpson, KJ Henry, Balin Spector, Trey Williams, as well as Rook Orhahoro, all have... I love that. It's it looks like somebody just did the same thing on the keyboard, but they all have at least a sack or a half. Xavier Thomas leads everyone with 3.5. Miles Murphy with 2.5. Interception-wise, taking a look at who to watch out there, who will be spying on the quarterback here. R.J. Mickens, the safety, has 2, and then Nolan Turner, Balin Spector, and Brian Breesy all have 1 interception this season. Breesy on the D-line, Spector a linebacker. Nolan Turner and R.J. Mickens, both safeties, combining for 3 interceptions this season. And we have seen DJ Uiagalelei through 5 games be sacked 10 times. Mm-hmm. So 5 games, 10 sacks breaks down to about 2 sacks a game, which isn't bad.
No, not too bad. But maybe not up to the same standards of a Clemson offensive line, but not too bad. But they still got their issues on defense. Stockers and Breeze, they're a little nicked up. So maybe we can get something if those guys are not at full go.
Yeah, it's interesting here too. We look at it. Total touchdowns this season for Clemson's offense through 5 games is 13. Total touchdowns for Sean Tucker through 6 games is 11. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, Sean Tucker versus the entire offense of Clemson, very close there for Tucker. And they're only scoring, like I said, right around 21.2 points per game is what they're averaging here at this point. And they're 0 for 4 on 4th down. Their third down efficiency is 39.13%. And so looking at that, as far as outside of that, 4 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 10 sacks for a loss of 63 yards. They're averaging 4.5 yards a carry, which is reputable. And, yards per game, they're averaging 324. So it'll be interesting to see how this works for Syracuse. Also, the notion that the reality that Clemson has fumbled 13 times, but they've only lost 2 of the fumbles. So they do make up for the mistakes. And when they don't take care of the ball, they're able to recover it.
Right.
And Syracuse has struggled to force fumbles in consistent games. So,
yeah, and that's going to be the key. Can we create those turnovers to take advantage of that struggling offense and giving our offense more opportunities to score? Because But it's going to be a challenge against their defense. I mean, again, they may have their issues on the offensive side, but defensively, defense has been keeping them there, just like we just mentioned.
Well, and that's the thing is, will Syracuse's more explosive offense than Clemson's be able to score against their defense?
Right.
And will Syracuse's defense rebound and continue to force the Clemson woes offensively?
Right.
So those are your question marks. They averaged 21.2 points a game. Syracuse averages 31.5. If this was a basketball game, you could really, 10-point advantage. You would think, okay, well, they're going to win. But knowing how Syracuse football plays, it's scary. But 13 total touchdowns for Clemson through 5 games. And like I said, Sean Tucker almost has that by himself with 11 through 6. Syracuse, 24 total team touchdowns through their 6 games that they played. Syracuse's third down efficiency, a little bit worse, 35% to their 39%. Fourth down efficiency, though, 40% to Clemson's 0. Syracuse 2 for 5, Clemson 0 for 4, as I had stated before here. And Syracuse, 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, which is close to their 4 for 4. They've been sacked 10 times for a loss of 63 yards. Syracuse has been sacked 11 times for a loss of 66, and Syracuse has played 1 extra game, so that's reputable there.
Yeah.
Syracuse's rushing yards a game, almost 243 rushing yards per game. Yards per game, 412 to the 324 for Clemson is also something for you to look at. But Syracuse really has to watch this. 39 penalties in 6 games for a loss of 353 yards, which is more than the football field 3 times over. And having 39 penalties, that's over 6 a game. 6.5 penalties per game on Syracuse.
Yeah, they definitely got to clean that up. I mean, I know the last game was a couple, calls there, but it wasn't as bad as I don't know if it was that Florida State game or the game before that. It was ridiculous. The way they broke 14 penalties or something like that during the game. So
well, and the thing is, they tied their record all time earlier in the season too.
Right.
Despite beating Albany, they had 16 penalties,
60, okay.
and the 16 penalties that they have tied a single game record for them.
Right.
And not only did it tie one of the worst records you could ever tie, but it was against Albany.
Exactly.
It's not like they were making mistakes against a team that should have been flustering them. They were killing Albany. So imagine beating Albany by as much as they did. If they had minimized those penalties, would they have gotten to 60, 70 points?
Easy, yeah.
And then looking at the fact that Clemson has fumbled 12 times and lost 3, I think I said. And Syracuse has lost 50% of their fumbles.
Yeah.
6 fumbles, 3 lost. So Syracuse has to do a better job at protecting the ball, cleaning up. And a crucial fumble was by Cooper Lutz right before he stepped out of bounds when the ball popped into the air and was recovered by Wake Forest.
Yeah. I mean, and that
in Syracuse territory.
Yeah, and that kind of let the sales out of the fans, And then after that happened, like I was saying earlier, most of the people headed to the gates, but they missed a great 94-yard, scoring touchdown drive. So that tells you sometimes, things do happen in games. I mean, we don't want them to happen, but by that happening, then the ending result was, the defense got the ball back, and then the offense, that was probably the best drive so far of the year. That 94-yard drive to tie the game. So, that's just proof. Stay to the end of the game.
Well, you know how I feel about the fans that leave. I always tell them don't even come.
Right.
So, and well, fine, Dan, I won't. And it's like, well, you're not doing anything for the players because they watch you walk out on them. All I got to say to you is, what would you do to every fan that walks out at your recital, at your game, at your practice? What would you, at your job, what would you do if your mom or your dad walked out on you? If you were a cashier at Wegmans and you made one mistake on something, you forgot to ring something up, if your parents walked out of the room and said, you're never going to make it here.
Right.
Or what would you do if in the middle of the movie you made, your parents were like, no, you didn't catch me. I don't want to wait for the climax. You didn't hook me yet. And they walked out on your movie. What would you do if your parents walked out on you if you were on Wall Street and you didn't sell good enough that day and you didn't read the Dow? Like, if your family consistently walked out on you, well, Dan, I'm not their parent. Now, what I'm saying to you is when people walk out on you it hurts. Okay? And the fans, when you do it, the players see it. And just so you know, the interview coming up with Jason Simmons on Friday's broadcast, Jason speaks with me about the fact that it's been the team versus the fans. And
Really?
and I'm really in a place right now where I've thought about the fact that they saw the fans leave, and then I got actually told down the road that they do see you leave, and then I thought, you know what, maybe they don't feel the love, and maybe they feel like they literally feel like the fans aren't even in their corner, and now they're saying that. So all of these things that you really hope are not true that you see have been true. They do see you leave, and they do feel like the fans have been against them.
Yeah. And that's a tough pill to swallow, you know what I mean? You know you want the support of the community, and, you know, and it is demoralizing when you see that, you know, hey, here you are on the field giving it your all and trying to do the best. And then again, it's not just a game, but yeah, it's a game and there's life lessons to learn, you know, throughout that game. But, you know, just support them, you know, stay through it, stay to the end, you know, you never know.
Where do you have to be?
Exactly. I mean, you may make it to the highway just because you left those 3 minutes earlier.
I told you.
You didn't really. You're not getting that far.
I
from
told
the
you.
door.
Your man or your lady sends you that message, you can go. There's an emergency, God forbid, you can go.
Right.
You got to catch a flight, you can go. But outside of that, if you're rushing to get home to get some popcorn and sit in your underwear and watch Netflix, ain't nobody need to see that. So you can wait a little bit longer. I want to remind you all, and we appreciate you for listening and watching Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and facebook.com/livenowdt to watch. Listen on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage. After the shows go live, you can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, and more. All you have to do is go to your favorite platform and search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And a proud thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt's, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Pizza Man, Progressive Dental, as well as PB&J's Lunchbox, Honda City of Liverpool, the Millhouse Market, Mother's Cupboard, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and of course our multimedia marketing partnership with those Lemoyne College Dolphins. Fins Up every single Wednesday at 9 a.m. is Dolphin time. First and third Wednesday of every month, you have AD and DT, where Athletics Director Bob Beretta of Lemoyne joins me for a special topic every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. exclusively on Wake Up Call. And on every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Dolphin Dive dives into a spotlight with a student athlete, coach, or staff member of Lemoyne. And every month you also get Pacer Pride, where the Marywood Pacers in our multimedia marketing partnership have the opportunity to speak with you from their leadership, from the executive director of athletics who started things off with us, Pat Murphy, to the coaches that will inevitably be to come. So, with all that being said, I want to thank y'all. And our final note here, prediction.
I'm going to say it's going to be a defensive struggle, and I think Clemson might come out with this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am saying I'm going to kick myself, I think. I see, my gut is telling me Syracuse is going to gut this out.
All right.
Because they were close to Florida State and they were close to Wake Forest. And I think Wake is better than Clemson right now. I would say 28-23 Syracuse. Mm-hmm. But I'm very concerned. I think this is going to be in the 20s. I think it's going to be close. And
28?
I'm going to give Syracuse the slight. I'm going to say 27-23, 27-24, somewhere in that world. Mm-hmm. But I think Syracuse can win this game. I think that if they play to their highest level and the punter can get the ball more than 8 yards away, I'm going to say Syracuse can squeak this one out. I'm going to follow my gut on this one, but I'm going to tell you that It's going to be a really tough game because a couple plays have separated Syracuse from being 5-1, and some bad coaching decisions too. So I just hope the players can play at their highest level, and maybe they need to look over at Dino and the coaching staff and go like Tom Brady does and play their own plays sometimes. But ultimately, I think Syracuse can do this. I don't know if I want to call it my gut. I have a better feeling about this than I had about Wake.
Okay.
And the Wake game went to overtime. I don't want to call this my gut.
Right.
But I'm going to say Syracuse a slight edge. But do I feel great about it? No. Only because of the fact that the coaching has been questionable. And this game has come down to 2 or 3 plays the last 2 weeks, and Syracuse has been on the wrong side of it.
Right. Yep.
I think they can do it, but I expect better out of their defense than what I've seen lately. And I expect better from the coaching staff moving forward. And offensively, I think, unfortunately, the offense is finally starting to spark, and the defense is. And then special teams, when Syracuse has been horrible, has been great. So it's kind of seems like all 3 phases have not been able to all come together.
Right. I think definitely if like you mentioned earlier, if Syracuse can key on Ross and force Clemson into some long down third, and hopefully I can't say that because don't go into prevent defense mode, but third and longs and stuff, they can get the ball back. But I just think Clemson defensively is just, that's where they're tough at this year. And I mean, if they can give a Georgia team problems, I mean, and I've seen Sean Tucker do it in Clemson, at Clemson, score touchdowns. So it's not that the Syracuse offense can't do it. And I think their offensive line is a lot better than it was last year. So that's why I say I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. But, if they can capitalize and do what you say, they can squeak it. But, coaching decisions are the same. I mean, I think it might be more the same.
How about this, you're 40% on 4th down. Your opponent this week is 0%. How about this? If the game's close, you better go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it on 4th.
Nothing to lose.
Trust your offense. No, you have nothing to lose. And you know what? At this point, the fans are going to be more against you than... And I'm not saying that you have to do it. Oh, okay, let me reword this because I don't want you to do it because of the fans. What I'm trying to say is, at this point, you've already rubbed the fans the wrong way. That going for it on 4th down, I think you're going to have more of their support than less.
Right.
I think at this point, Syracuse fans kind of are at a point where you were 3-1. If somehow you come out of this 3-4, the fan base is going to just kind of maybe even think the season's over. Right. So I think, at this point, you have nothing to lose. Syracuse should play very free in this game.
Yes. No pressure on us. I mean, let those guys on the other side try to figure out what's going on and what's wrong with their program and their shine on their dynasty or whatever it may be. But like you say, go out and be aggressive, and there's nothing to lose. You probably gain more fan respect and want the. I think the fans do enjoy this team. I mean, they're not a team that's. You're like, oh, Jesus, what are we going to watch today? I mean, the games have been entertaining. I mean, the last 3 coming down to the last possession. But I think you will gain the respect of the fan community if you just show aggression and, let it just come out where it's going to come out,
Yeah. Be aggressive. Go for it. That's how I think, you really put some energy back into the dome. And the one thing that I would say is you had a whiteout against Liberty whose color is white, and you're having an orange out against Clemson, whose dominant color is orange. In the future, whoever runs this, I would say have an orange out against Liberty, who does not have orange in their logo at all, and have a white out against a purple and orange team, just for future reference, because having an orange out against Clemson is going to make the players look up in the stands and almost feel like they're at home.
Or we could feel like we're at home too, though, because it is kind of tricky when you get those Clemson oranges and mixes, and you're like, well, the fan base really came out, but it's probably 40, 60.
Or maybe they had the orange out because they're expecting a lot of Clemson fans to wear orange.
Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Yay!
Yeah, exactly. You mix it up with them, you know.
So now Clemson's going to have a purple out.
Right.
But everyone's going to look like Barney in the stands. But we'll see what happens here. Just for future reference, when it comes to making some decisions on marketing, having an orange out against an orange team is probably not the smartest thing to do. But with that being said, I'm going with Syracuse, and Isaac's going with Clemson. We'll see what happens, and we'll obviously be with you moving forward. We appreciate you, as always, from inside the Cafe Cubal Studios, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Go there now. Get your popcorn ready for this game and every game in any one of the 50 states by going to maandpaspopcorn.com. They will be delivering to your doorstep, and you can use my promo code DT20 to get 20% off. DT20 is what you use at the end, DT20 at maandpaspopcorn.com. And I wore this today, and I know it's Wichita State, but I wore it today because I was making a shocking pick. So I wouldn't let you see anything but fear the whole time. The shocker is me picking Syracuse.
Okay. I respect that.
My bold pick of the week. So with that being said, for Isaac and I, we'll talk with you soon. Be safe, and as always, find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. All the time on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com. God bless, no stress, do your best. This has been a very special wake-up call, and I thank you, Isaac, more than anything.
Appreciate you.
I'll talk with you all soon.